Hi guys, I know that you probably are anticipating highly this recording. This is going to walk us through the pieces that you're going to need for Tuesday and Wednesday's lesson, and then there will be another video for Thursday, Friday, and leading into next week. So the reason I'm doing this is so that way you can take smaller bits and smaller chunks at a time. And then that way we didn't get a chance to hit it in class. So just in general, our congruent polygons are congruent. They have the same shape and size. And we know that. So we could say that this is congruent to this. This is congruent to this one, etc., etc. So this first little bit is not so bad. So match the congruent sides. So if I tell you that these two polygons are congruent, so polygon ABCDE is congruent to FGHIJ, then AB is congruent to which one? Well, it's the shorter leg next to the super long leg that's straight. So it's going to be congruent to FG. So you just got to figure out which part is the corresponding part. So then if we look at BC, well, BC is congruent to GH, sorry. HI, we're just kind of working our way around, is congruent to CD. IJ is congruent to DE, and then EA is congruent to JF. Sorry, we get lots of letters going on, and so sometimes I trip up over them. What you want to remember, though, guys, is that you want to remember that you have that you always name it in the same order. That is important, so you make sure that you're doing your corresponding parts correctly. Alright, so when you have congruent sides, when you have congruent polygons, you also have congruent angles. So, angle A is congruent to angle F. Angle B is congruent to angle G. Angle H is congruent to angle C. Angle I is congruent to angle D. And angle E is congruent to angle J. And all I did is I just went around and around and around. Well, I really only went around once, so. Alright, so 10 different ways. So I'm going to give you a few, and then I want you, as part of an extra credit thing, if you watch this recording and you are able, I want you to send me one of the ways to name this polygon. So I'll give you 2, and then you need to give me one of the other 8. So one of them is ABCDE. And then another one is DEABC. So again, if you want a point or two of extra credit, probably a point of extra credit, send me in a K-mail, send me the name of the polygon, another name, so it can't be one of those two. When you name the polygon, you start at one point and you work your way around. Alright, so the polygon congruence postulate. So this is what tells us why we get to make the different assumptions we can make. So two polygons are congruent if and only if there is a correspondence between their sides and angles, so that all pairs of corresponding angles are congruent and all pairs of corresponding sides are congruent. And basically this is corresponding parts of congruent figures are congruent. And so I know it's a lot of the same words, but you can see that BC is congruent to GH. Well, if BC is congruent to GH, then the angles that are formed by them have to also be congruent. That's all that means. Alright, so I gave you some information, and I told you that AB was 3, and I told you that BC was 5, and I told you that DC was 12. I told you that angle E was 89. And I told you that angle C was 32. So your job is to figure out which angles are congruent to what, and which legs are congruent to what. So I can see that AB is that short leg. AB and DE are congruent. Well, if they're congruent, then that means that DE is also 3. BC is congruent to EC, so that's also 5. That should be DC, which I told you was 12. And then that means that AC is 12. And so I'm going to leave the angles to you to figure out, but I do believe that you can do it. And so that is congruent polygons. So I hope that helps. Of course, if you have other information, you can always K-mail me if you have questions or anything like that. But anyway, have a wonderful Tuesday, Wednesday doing congruent polygons.